Yeah, so at the end of the day, there are two things that I want to drive home here. The main issue that I have is the religious text that goes into this. I think, at least for those of you who have a mind towards the religious, it's fairly evident that Hake is, well, non-denominational is not a tremendous surprise to me. I don't think that his understanding of Christianity is very well developed at all. I think that's largely because he likes having a religious pretext for his pre-existing biases, but I genuinely believe that his worldview is closer to that of the Antichrist than that of Christ. His disregard of virtue, his hatred of nobility, and his automatic derision towards the concept of God's love being present in all things, these are unacceptable pretextual positions to hold for a Christian. Like, these are not, like, you would, to express these would get you, like, shunned from religious communities. I think that Hake holds a lot of hate in his heart, and a lot of the religious bullshit is just a way of him having a non-empirical justification for those positions, one that he does not have to defend. And, you know, it's just, like, it's empirically incorrect, and frankly, it's heretical, and I don't appreciate it.
If you were a wizard, what would you change in our country that would make corruption? What do you think it would do for the people to get the power back?
Well, at the end of the day, the issue is that what you're referring to is corruption. And I guess what I also consider corruption is also a necessary product of any modern democracy. Politicians have to listen to the people in an explicit sense. Obviously, we vote for them. But if a politician, or if politicians broadly, if they were unwilling to listen to corporate needs, this sounds bad, but it's true. If they were unwilling to listen to corporations, our country would suffer tremendously for it. Our economy, especially here in the States, it is, after all, the backbone of this country. And the only reason we're able to maintain that, along with our relatively high standard of living, is because corporations have the ability to petition their needs to politicians. So for me, it's not about the collaboration between the two that really bugs me. It's the nature of that collaboration. And I think the solution to that, functionally, would be to make the interests of those corporations parallel to the interests of the people who vote for the politicians. Essentially, worker democracy. Full-on seizure of the means of production. Can you imagine being this guy right here? I know this is just like a simplified representation, but this guy right here was a real guy. Like, there was the front tank in the assault on the fortification, you know? But just like, just absolutely blasting Unfortunate Son at like 140 decibels, while the four guys in you who are all drunk and high as shit are overdriving directly towards the Iraqi fortification. Yeah, sorry, Unfortunate Son's Vietnam. Yeah, what would it be? Iron Maiden? Yeah. Some guy wearing like a Bart Simpson t-shirt, like Don't Have a Cowman, with the world's worst haircut that you've ever seen smeared against the inside of his dusty helmet. Just on speed, reloading the shells from inside and vaporizing positions. Oh, God. Yeah, the fucking mullet, yeah. 99% of the time when I see somebody in academia who was fired for the boldness of the research, they were a shit academic with very strong, pre-formed political conceptions that were influencing their work, and they realized they could make more money being a social figure or a public advocate for their political positions than remaining within academia. Jordan Peterson recently did this, an entirely unremarkable man in terms of his academic contributions. He got famous for lying about Bill C-16 in Canada, and since then has made his way as a self-help guru. And now, of course, he makes far more money doing that than he ever could acting as a professor. But when he was on his way out, he published a big article about how academia's left him behind and he wasn't allowed to do X or Y and blah-de-blah. And to be honest, I don't really buy it. It's an origin myth, a creation story. Why are you out here spreading the gospel? Well, it's because academia couldn't handle the truth. Well, what was the truth? And then you look and, well, is Lenin good? Lenin is smart, and he was a good writer, though I don't agree with everything that he said. He's also a monster. Basically, there are two Lenins. Lenin pre-revolution and Lenin post-revolution. Pre-revolution, when he was doing his writing, you know, or well, not all of it, but, you know, when he was doing some writing, you know, there's some valuable stuff there. Post-revolution, he was an authoritarian. He immediately cracked down on worker councils, executed political enemies. Like, he instantly, like, when Lenin got, you know, when he achieved power, he became like people distinguish between Stalin and Lenin as though Stalin was like the crazy one who took over and ruined everything, but that's not really true. Lenin set everything in motion for what Stalin would later become. And Trotsky was just as bad. Trotsky was insane and a slimy little kiss ass. He would write anything to justify what Lenin did.
and you're supporting Taiwanese separatism, and you're not a nationalist.
Whoa,
Oh
wait,
my
please,
God.
wait, hold on.
You're
Wait,
supporting
please,
Ukraine,
please,
which
please,
is a
please.
nation state, and you're not a nationalist.
Bro, you claim to be opposed to racism, but when you said that that black guy was subject to police brutality, didn't that require acknowledging race?
What?
Wait, okay, hold on. Wait,
do
really
you
quickly.
understand the contradiction between
Can
supporting
please?
a nation
Wait,
state and
you
calling
won't
yourself
stop
a social?
talking. So I'm just going to mute you for a second because I'm not going to make a point while I'm muting you. Can we calm for a sec because you are nonstop running. Okay, I've unmuted. Are we okay? Because you're like train running, and the problem is you've moved so quickly that you have train run into retardville and then blown past it, and we're in full on
You
like.
can't even define a nation state.
Wait, hold on.
You're just
past
going off based
retardville
on
right now.
vibes.
No, it's okay. Wait, I want you to calm down because like there's a cliff eventually at the end of this that you're going to run off of, and you need to not. Okay, you're going to fall into another cult as soon as this conversation is done. You realize that, right? Like you're literally going, like the call's going to end, and you're going to walk outside, and somebody with a pamphlet is going to convince you to kill yourself up a street. Actually, let's talk about the people of Syria. So, in addition to removing U.S. imperialism, there's also another powerful autocratic force in that region that's suppressing the will.
Assad, he's such an evil person. You know, this guy that didn't even want to be the leader of this country, that only got forced into the position after his brother died. Yes.
Yes, the person who inherited the monarchical position from his father and won with a 99.9% approval rating. I know. Yeah, I'm sure. Poor Assad.
Actually support their leader.
If only the protesters he gunned down understood his pain. Do you wait? I genuinely have to ask. Wait, so because I just heard what you said, even though your mic's a bit dodgy, but that's fine. That's that's whatever. You just said, oh, so something they support their leader. Do you sincerely believe that the election results for Assad and his father were legitimate? They're like 99.7%. You do?
Yes.
Some Tomahawks carry special warheads which contain long strips of carbon filament. These missiles fly over power transformers and switching stations and release these strips into them, causing the electrical components to spark, short out, and burst into flame.
What the fuck? That's insane! I didn't know that was a thing! This was 30 years ago. Can you imagine the insane bullshit we have now? Yeah, it literally might as well just be magic. Yeah, like, oh yeah, dude, we put like magic metal in our missiles and it makes all of your computers explode if it even gets close to them. Okay, sure, thanks America. Yeah, these graphite bombs. Intended to be a non-lethal weapon used to disable an electrical grid. The bomb works... This is why they didn't want to use pencils in the ISS, by the way. The bomb works by spreading a dense cloud of extremely fine, chemically treated carbon filaments over air-insulated high-voltage installations, causing short circuits and subsequent disruption of the electrical supply in an area. A region or even an entire small country. Jesus fuck. Being technically correct, like being accurate, has very little to do with being perceived to have won a debate. Rhetorical skills are by far more important. I mean, you can see that all over the place with the rise of people like Ben Shapiro, who, I mean, the points they make, like if you actually sit them down and break these points apart, like they're very, very dumb, very wrong, but he's still considered to be one of the preeminent voices of debate and political engagement in the entire Western world, which is insane, but like, that's the state of things.
Yeah, well, he talks very fast.
That does help.
You sped him up once on 2 times, and it was probably the most hilarious thing I've ever seen.
So it's like training yourself in the gravity chamber. If you can defeat Ben Shapiro when he's on 1.5 times speed, you can do anything. It's just so strange to me because, like, everything here is so straightforward, The ethnic cleansing was taking place before NATO intervention. After NATO intervention, it stopped only a few months after. You still haven't given me an answer to, like, what the alternative was. Like, you guys just should have just fucking killed everyone in Kosovo.
Alternative is what exactly says international law. Kosovo gets autonomy. They get to rule themselves just fine. We respect their majority, and they respect our historical claim to it.
Serbia wouldn't have done that. You guys
we agreed to that, but we signed and we
you
agreed to
that because we bombed you. You invaded Kosovo because you wouldn't agree to that.
That's in our favor.
No. You can't say like the alternative would have been this agreement that we only agreed to because NATO intervened. The Serbs were not willing to accept Kosovar independence. That's why all this started. You don't get that. Serbia was willing to kill and to displace Albanians to prevent that from happening. So the alternative with no NATO intervention is what? Mass genocide in Kosovo? Somebody said this was Lumi reacting to me rating them.
Vaush is rating me? Vaush raid? I like Vaush. Fourth raid? Oh! now that you say Vorse Raid, I know who that is. Yeah, isn't that the guy on the internet that, like, talks about politics and fucks horses or something?
I know I've said this a million times before, but I still have to point out how incredibly funny it is. How nobody can give me shit for that. Like, ever. You know what I mean? It's just too funny. The whole thing, the whole horse thing is too funny. Because the funny thing is, like, Cenk from the Young Turks said some wacky stuff a while ago, and because he didn't lean into it, like, people give him shit for it. But I leaned into it, so nobody gives me shit for it. It's very funny, you know? Who said in Game of Thrones, like, you must make that which they use to hurt you your armor, so it may never work again? Who said that? That was Tyrion, right? You don't actually believe in the horse thing, right? Of course not.
So how would you define, what is a woman?
I would say that woman is sort of a social archetype that people choose to adopt, kind of like an identifier that they want to be known by. Now, obviously, you know, there's a lot of conflation here because people get assigned this, that, the other at birth, which means that you sort of grow up with a set of roles and definitions before you're old enough to have any opinion on the subject, really. But at least when we're talking about, you know, gender as an identity, you know, what people care about when they're older, that's what I think of. It's like being a woman, you know, what does it mean to be a woman? It's how you think of yourself and how you want the world to think of you. It's a sandwich board slung around your neck with a set of identifiers that you want to be considered by. I think people do this with a lot of things, not just gender, you know, but I think gender is sort of the big one. What about USA versus the rest of the world? People have given me shit for this take, but I genuinely believe it. If you took nuclear weapons off the table, in which case, of course, any global war means the world ends. If you took all nukes off the table and you're limited to, like, conventional weaponry, I still think the US would win against the rest of the world, in large part because of our defensible position. We're in the middle of the ocean. Canada and Mexico are both weak, and to our north and south. A lot of them would have to come through the sea or come through, like, defensible passes. I think, yeah. That's like kind of jerk off, like Hearts of Iron 4 tier shit, but I do believe it. Like, people do not understand what America is like. Like, it is so fucking wild how much money we spend in the military. It is insane. It is unimaginable how much we spend. It's like that whole, you know, the world's largest Air Force is the US Air Force, and the second largest Air Force is the US Navy, you know? Oh, it's the other way around? Wait, the US Navy has a larger Air Force than the US Air Force? Hell yeah.
Me and Luna and some other people are fascist and racist. What I've noticed, and a lot of people have noticed, is a pattern where whenever you talk about somebody who is fascist or racist, that there's a tendency for those people to receive harassment, threats, and other kinds of, like, you know, disturbing attacks, like hypotheticals. But yeah, I guess my point is Luna's on the far right.
Obviously, you have a closer relationship with Luna than I do. That's kind of an
I
understatement.
do recognize that she's a fascist. Yeah. That's
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm not. I don't want to use any, like, loaded terms like useless stepchild of Vietnam. I just think that it stands to reason that if you're a rabid nationalist, there will be some overlap between useless stepchildren of Vietnam and Luna. But I'm just trying to say, I think that Luna deserves to suffer because Luna is bottom-feeding scum and a racist, vitriolic shit child.
Boring! Fucking boring! Dude, God and Satan wage war for the souls of... Why? God could win instantly. Well, the humanity's job is to make good choices and the free will that we were given by Christ. But that's boring! All the cool shit. In the Norse mythology, it's like, well, why doesn't Odin simply defeat the forces of Ragnarok? Do you know why he doesn't? Because he would lose! That's badass. Hey, what if the gods are powerful? Why don't they just defeat the evil? Because evil will win. The Ragnarok they'll all die. They can't but God can just finger snap. But he doesn't, because it's you have to make the choice for yourself. Fuck you. The issue with the Bible is that it's just not cool. Support local journalism? No. Fuck local journalism. You know why? Because it's dead. There is no local journalism anymore. All local rags have been bought up by mega conglomerates that hand down stories to be told by these people. Local journalists do not do investigative journalism. They do not bring insight or truth to their local community. They are just pencil pushers for, like, multinational corporations that control broader narratives. There is no independent journalism. Or if there is, you're going to find it on Twitter. What the fuck? They're going to make me disable ad blocker to read the Omaha World Herald? Fuck that. Absolutely not. Who the fuck do you think you are? What, do you think you're a fucking coastal city? The Omaha World Herald? You're going to make me turn off ad blocker for this? Fuck you. Jesus fucking Christ. The unbelievable fucking conceit. Omaha thinks we're a big deal. I mean, you guys have the separate elector seat, which is cool, I guess. Yeah. The last event that was put on by Maupin's little shindig before it fell apart was one in which the Soviet and US flag were held together at a 2-minute salute before bringing out the Z, the symbol of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So so the last event held was a pro-fascist event, which does little to inspire the communist associations. I also haven't seen any actual communist positions from any of you guys. You never talk about class or Marxism for that matter. You usually just defend modern states that have red in their flags, which gets a bit confusing, especially when the modern Russia and modern China have engaged in respective de-Sovietification and de-Maoification. So it's what do you guys actually believe in apart from countries that aren't American? Because it seems like it's totally inconsistent. It's just whatever big military hegemon isn't America, you guys like them more than any. We have two ethnic groups that clearly can't get along. They need to be kept independent. The Serbs were so fastidiously against that independence for the Kosovars that they were willing to kill and displace. That is an undeniable fact. If NATO hadn't intervened, who knows how many Albanians you would have killed. It was good for us to intervene. I'm glad we scared you. Because, of course, at any point in time, you know perfectly well that one of the countries that constitutes NATO could liquidate Serbia. We choose not to because we don't want to cause a fuss about it. But while you're the weaker dog in the pen, you should probably learn your place and not sit time here trying to justify ethnic cleansings to me because you found a smaller dog. Why? Why not work on greater cooperation in the EU sphere? Why waste your time hating people who are just trying to find a nation where they can be kept safe? You guys tried to push them out of Kosovo. More than 1 million displaced out of a province with 2 million people. Ridiculous.
Okay.
You guys understand the real politics at play here. We supported Kuwait depressing global oil prices because we like it when oil is cheap. Iraq didn't like that because their economy is totally dependent on oil. The only reason we intervened to defend Kuwait is because we wanted to keep oil cheap and keep Saddam Hussein from keeping it artificially high. This is only being done for economics. Saddam Hussein could have personally raped and killed every single Kuwait citizen, and we would not have cared as long as the oil prices remain low.
The buildup of coalition forces in Saudi Arabia is called Operation Desert Shield.
So this was a war over oil? Yes. I don't think Iraq 2003 was that much over oil. This was a war over oil.
Over a period of 6 months, 35 nations send a total of approximately 1 million military personnel to Saudi Arabia, the largest military alliance since World War II.
Jesus Christ.
2,230.
That's what it takes. All the massacres around the world since World War II, all of the death and suffering, what brings the world together to delete a country off the map? Keeping oil cheap. Do everything. Yeah, nuclear is an issue for how long it would take to get the infrastructure up and running, but we just need to do stuff. I would be willing to be inefficient in how much money we need to spend on renewable energy. I don't want just nuclear. I want all of it. I want nuclear. I want solar. I want wind. I want hydroelectric. I want all of it. I just throw money at it. I want those money guns that shoot it out 1 bill at a time and just fire that shit at every fucking energy project. Why not just renewables?
Cucked.
Ha! Well, historically, being made a cuckold means that somebody, usually a guy, has slept with your wife. Now, contemporarily, being cucked can mean a couple of things. It can mean that you've been bested, or it can mean that you've been humiliated or usurped. Basically, all of the emotions that you imagine would run through the mind of a person who has actually been cuckolded. Just imagine any scenario which would elicit those emotions in a person under any circumstances, whether it be actually being cuckolded or losing a video game tournament to your ex, or just literally anything like that. You could say cucked. If a person is cucked, that's an adjective describing their state of being, you would mean that to say that they're compromised. Basically, they're letting other people's ideologies or values run rampant over theirs. They're not standing up for what they actually believe in.
Oh, okay.
There's a heavily racialized element. If you go to any porn site and look for cuckold porn, for example, you will find that it is overwhelmingly racialized. Not saying you have to, just saying if you did, you'd find out that's the case. This is literally the shock and awe doctrine. American military doctrine, because we tend to fight numerically and technologically inferior opponents, is to massively overwhelm them with way too... Because we have a lot of equipment, we have a lot of money, So deploy 10 times as much equipment and as many people as you need, and just overwhelm them. Get it done with as quickly as possible to minimize the damage done to our own forces, and realistically also to theirs. Another benefit of the shock and awe doctrine is that it causes enemy soldiers to desert, and it does make the fighting last less long. And that's part of the idea. Yeah, it's a very basic doctrine. It's been done like throughout all of human history. Like, charge with massive forces to break their lines, like do it as quick as you can, mop up afterwards, yeah. This is a very effective doctrine. It does not tell you how to occupy a country full of insurgents for 20 years, though. That's the problem. Very effective at one thing, but that one thing that it's effective at is not the thing we've been doing lately, and it's very ineffective at handling what we have been dealing with.
Was she raped because she was a cop or because she was just like a random person?
Wait, do you think it's okay to rape lady cops?
I don't care about cops. If somebody's targeting you because you're a cop, I hope you get a humane treatment.
Okay, so how many Turks do you want to kill?
I don't want to kill anybody.
Do you think it's okay to rape a Turkish woman because they're Turks and you don't have sympathy for them?
I said that I have no sympathy.
You heard it right there. I hung up. No, he hung up. I hung up before he could talk about raping Turkish women. All right. Sorry, I think that if a person starts justifying rape, whenever I want to hang up is on me. Personally, I think that's a me decision at that point. Whenever someone's like, yeah, you know, like whatever, like I don't like the job they have, so like you can rape. I think at that point I get the right to the hang up button. Fuck! Ah, he wanted to keep pivoting. That was really fun though. We should do that more often.